Going on a pilgrimage has been an integral part of the Indian culture. Many devotees take it as their life mission to go on tours to get the blissful sight of their beloved gods residing at different abodes. One of the major duties of a king was to make facilities to the pilgrims by providing food and shelter. The British, who ruled India, considered this to be a good source of income and started collecting taxes from the pilgrims. There are thousands of pilgrimage sites across India, and Kashi is considered to be the holiest of all. There are several circuit pilgrimages where a person had to start his travel from a location, visit several places, and come back to the start and conclude his journey. The most relevant and modern example for this is the Rameshwaram Kashi Rameshwaram round trip that many people take up today with the motive of paying their respects to the spirits of their ancestors. Like modern day packages, there were pilgrimages where a set of temples were included in a single trip visit. The greatest, holiest and the most difficult pilgrimage under this category was the Char Dham Yatra. Rameshwaram, Dwarka, Badrinath and Puri are the Char Dham or the four holy abodes of the Lord. Char means four and Dham means temple. The Char Dham were not just pilgrimage sites. The greatness of a king was qualified based on the number of Dhams under his rule. No empire other than the British were able to rule all the four at once. This is because of the geography of these temples. The Delhi Sultanate had under their control Dwarka, Badrinath and Puri, but could not conquer Rameshwaram. The great Tamil ruler Rajendra Solan had under his control Rameshwaram and Puri. Several beliefs say that after waking up, Lord Vishnu goes to Rameshwaram in the early mornings to take bath. Then he goes to Dwaraka to meet his citizens and rule his kingdom. He comes to Puri in the noon to have his meal. Thus the Dham at Puri is known as the Annadham. Annam means food and Dham meaning temple. The Annadham, the Puri Jagannath temple, is guarded by 8 Devis, 2 for each direction. They are Mangala, Bhagavati, Charchika, Sarala, Archandi, Ramchandi, Alamchandi and Dharini. In the center of these Devis lies the town of Puri. Shri Purushottamatav, Neela Chada, Shri Kshetra, Purushottam Kshetra, Purushottam Puri and Jagannath Puri are various names of Puri. There are 30 other smaller deities in this Jagannath temple complex. The town of Puri is designed like a Shankha, a conch, one of the weapons of Lord Vishnu. The Jagannath temple is situated in the center of the conch. It occupies an area of 400,000 square feet and is enclosed by compound walls which are 22 feet high. The entrance to this temple is through 4 gates: the Lion's Gate, the Tiger's Gate, the Elephant's Gate and the Horse Gate. This 4-entrance structure, which symbolizes a specific animal, is common to the temples built based on the Kalinga architecture. This temple contains all key features of a temple that is built based on the Kalinga architecture. It has the Reka Duvela, the Garbhagriha, the Pida Duvela and the Kakara Duvela. The Jagannath temple is said to be the largest temple at the time of its construction. It was substituted by the Konark Sun temple a couple of centuries later. The highest structure in this temple, the Reka Duvela, rises up to 200 feet in the air. On top of the Reka Duvela, there is a chakra made of Ashta Dhatu. Ashta meaning 8 and Dhatu meaning metal, an alloy of 8 metals. The chakra is kept at the height to protect the high-rise structure from lightning. The chakra is 3.5 meters. It signifies the primary weapon of Lord Vishnu, the Sudarshan chakra. A flag named the Patita Pavana is hoisted on top of the structure. The Patita Pavana contains the symbol of the temple. This symbol is equal to the 3 lords placed inside the temple. Every day in the evenings, a person climbs up to change this flag. Now let's listen to the story of this temple. Long ago, in the 12th century, there lived a king, Indradyumna. He was a great Vishnu devotee and had an ardent wish to see him. Once, a traveller came to his court and said that Lord Vishnu is worshipped in the truest form as Neel Madhav in Odisha, an area ruled by the Sabera tribal chieftain Vishwabasu. Immediately the king asked Vidyapati to go to Odisha and find Lord Vishnu's true form for him. It is not clear about the relationship between Vidyapati and King Indradyumna. Some say he was his son, some say he was his minister, and some say he was his servant. Vidyapati set off to Odisha in search of his dear king's beloved god. After reaching Odisha, he met the tribal chieftain Vishwabasu and asked him to show him Nilmadhav. Vishwabasu refused, saying that it was meant only for people part of the tribal community. Vidyapati tried several times to convince the chieftain, but in vain. He continued staying in Odisha, hoping to get some information about Nilmadhav from the locals. He soon fell in love with the daughter of Vishwabasu and married her. He forced his wife to convince her father to take him to the place where Nilmadhav was worshipped. Vishwabasu agreed under one condition. Vidyapati will be blindfolded till they reach the place. Vidyapati managed to drop mustard seeds on the way. His blindfold was removed after reaching the cave, and he was astonished to see the truest form of Lord Vishnu, Nilmadhav. He rushed back to his king and explained to him what had happened. The king immediately set off with a group of army to Odisha. To his surprise, Nilmadhav had disappeared. The king was disappointed and returned to his capital. One day in his dream, the king heard a divine voice say that Nilmadhav would appear in front of him as a wooden log floating on the sea. A few months later, he saw a floating log just as the voice in his dream said. He took it to his court and asked the royal carpenters to carve Lord Vishnu out of it. Surprisingly, the chisels and axes broke when they tried carving it. Then Vishwakarma, the architect of the gods, appeared in the form of an old carpenter named Ananta Maharana. He started carving the idol under one condition. He should be locked inside a door for 21 days and should not be disturbed in the middle. The king accepted Ananta Maharana's conditions and locked him in a door. The king ordered his guards to make sure he is not disturbed for the next 21 days. The king would come every day to the door and check whether he was working or not. After hearing the sounds of his tools, the king would leave. After the 12th day, there was no sound of his tools, so the queen grew suspicious and asked the king to open the door. Finally, in the 15th day, the king decided to open the door, and they found that the carpenter had disappeared and had left back the unfinished statues of Lord Jagannath, Lord Balabhadra and Lord Subhadra. The king was again disappointed. Days went by. One final day, he heard the divine voice in his dream again, asking him to build a temple and place the idols inside it. The king built the largest temple in the world and placed the idols inside it.